We're joined now by Zoom from Minneapolis by Marie Louise Strom, who was a democracy education specialist with IDASA and continues to consult in this area with the Institute for Public Life and Work in Minneapolis, where she has been living for close to 2 decades. Marie Louise, good morning. I suppose it is your time. Hello.
Good morning, John.
It seems to me, watching overnight news, that the White House has realized just how badly this is starting to play, not only with their opposition politicians and supporters, the Democrats, but also more and more unease being raised by Republicans, Republican office bearers, Republican supporters. And there seems to be a bit of a row back. And, conversation with the governor, Tim Walz, and both described that as being fruitful. And Caroline Levitt, the press secretary, refusing to get into the kind of commentary which has been directed previously at Pret and Good. So, I mean, is there a sense on the ground in the wake of that things might be easing a little? The Border Patrol officers are being removed. The man who was in charge of them is being deployed elsewhere. Is there a sense of a change?
Well, it's certainly a new direction, John. I haven't been, to be honest, out into the streets yet this morning. So whether people are, feeling as though it's a conclusive and believable change remains to be seen. But there's definitely an effort to change the tone, to reset things, and as you say, there have been some leadership changes, and there's talk of possibly scaling back the size of the ICE presence in the Twin Cities. And I think my real observation here is that this is a credit to the work of the ordinary citizens who have made visible the actions of the ICE officers on the ground, because I think it's the constant barrage of images and the fact that the optics have been so bad for the administration that has finally, I think, caused some backlash, as you say, even within the Republican Party. And there is no doubt that there was growing pressure on the administration to rethink what they've been up to in the Twin Cities.
It has been extraordinary to watch video and to read print about how, if you agree with what Trump are doing, like some of my listeners do, then you're going to say they're interfering with law enforcement in the course of their duties. If you think the course of their duties is problematic, then you are going to salute these citizens who have blown whistles to alert neighborhoods to the presence of ICE officers, patrols, cars, vehicles, to do the shopping for immigrant families. Even if those immigrant families are legally here, they're scared to go onto the streets because their legal presence in America doesn't seem to matter to
Absolutely.
the ICE agents. So it has been an extraordinary reminder of the fact that some people do feel compassion.
Yes, and in this particular part of America, there is tremendous pride in the civic mindedness of our community. There's an organization in Washington called the National Conference of Citizenship that publishes an annual civic health index, and the Twin Cities of St. Paul and Minneapolis routinely feature near the very top of that index as being one of the most neighborly, civic-minded cities in the nation, and people are proud of that. They're proud of the tradition of neighborliness, of voluntarism, of political engagement outside of elections. And so it is a highly activated, civically energetic community. And so the actions one has seen among citizens in reaction to the ICE presence is, I think, really testimony to the strength of the civic fabric here. And I think the response has been because of the violation of those civic norms. People have just been saying, this is not us. And even Republicans in the Twin Cities who might be more supportive of the administration's agenda have been affronted, have been, thoroughly disgusted actually by some of the actions that have been made visible over the last few weeks.
It doesn't necessarily mean that everybody who lives in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis and St. Paul, is happy with the presence of all of the immigrants. A very large Somali population. Many of them have been there for a very long time. Many of them incredibly well integrated, it seems, into the Twin Cities populations. But there are going to be criminals amongst them. But there are criminals amongst people who are born into families that have been in America for several hundred years. And it's just there's the singling out, and this is happening in South Africa as well, and it's happening in the UK, it's happening in France, it's happening in Germany, it's happening just about everywhere you look, that immigrant is being equated with rapist, murderer, fraudster, in a way which is, it's just so depressing, Marie Louise.
Right. No, it's a terribly upsetting thing to see, and it's a kind of stigmatization of groups of people who actually have come into the country with loads of goodwill and with real commitment to making a contribution to, being part of a society that they believe in and want to, just fit in and prove themselves as worthy members of this democracy. And so, I think that people are having understood that their immigrant neighbors have, for the most part, actually been upright and useful members of the society, and often, have earned the love and respect of those around them. I think people have felt very saddened by this stigmatization and frankly by the xenophobia that has been manifested here. And as you say, of course there are bad apples among them. And the recent exposure of fraud that has been perpetuated by, unfortunately, a fairly large number of Somali or people of Somali immigrant backgrounds has not worked in their favor. But to think that the whole Somali population in the Twin Cities is fraudulent is a complete misrepresentation. And I think most Minnesotans are upset by that portrayal of their immigrant neighbors.
Thank you very, very much indeed for making time for us from Minneapolis, where she's lived for 20 years, a former, she's still a democracy and civic education specialist, Marie Louise Strom.